All right. So once again, we're introducing simple freedom. This is an 8 week journey exploration of simple freedom. We just dove into a guided meditation to kind of give the lay of the land, give an initial introduction. And now I'm going to dive into this presentation, which goes further into a lot of the fundamental coordinates, you could say, the fundamentals of simple freedom, the fundamentals of this approach to immediate exploration of our direct experience that brings a sense of freedom and liberation and can open into, yeah, many things, many beautiful gifts can come from this exploration. So, yeah, and I will say that this particular strain of my work, this current of simple freedom, it draws upon different wisdom traditions and wisdom teachings. My background is in, I have a fair amount of background exploring Taoism, Vajrayana, Dzogchen, Advaita, Zen, Christian mysticism, um, plant medicine work. So it draws upon all those things, but perhaps most notably, this particular current of my work draws upon the yoga of radiant presence, which was a wisdom teaching from the late Peter Brown. I was really deeply impacted by that teaching. So, yeah, this current draws a lot of inspiration from Peter Brown. So, just sending a lot of love to Peter. He passed away a couple years ago, transitioned to the next adventure, whatever that may be. So, peace to his immortal soul. And yeah, I can highly recommend his books and audios. He has some incredible books that I've spent a lot of time with. He was really impactful for me. So a lot of love to Peter. So this presentation is called The Enchantment of Now. Simple Freedom really focuses on the now moment and discovering the magic of the now moment. Um, Now realization is another way to say it. It's essentially, yeah, you could say an opening to now. It's like releasing some of the usual filters and layers or kind of loosening them up, you don't have to release everything all at once per se, but it's a gradual discovery that we've internalized a lot of layers and filters and definitions that were important at a certain point in our process to protect us usually. Usually life was too much in some way, and we were sensitive beings in a chaotic world, and so our bodies, uh, thankfully, have this highly advanced intelligence, and they created kind of walls or structures to protect us and kind of wall us off from the full jubilation, the full radiance, the full kaleidoscopic nectar of the present moment, because we didn't have space to feel all of that, because it also included a lot of pain at some point for pretty much everybody on Earth. And so it's natural that we all kind of formed these walls or these structures of definition or belief to keep ourselves safe in this world. But one downside of that is that oftentimes when those walls become very calcified, they also they also kind of block us from the light. They block us from the ever-present radiance, the joy, the beauty, the wonder of life. And so at a certain point, some of us are called into a process of beginning to dissolve some of those walls because, yeah, for some people, and probably for all of us, a certain amount of structure and walls is functional and helpful. And for some people, it works pretty well. But for others, having too many walls can create a sense of disconnection from life, a sense of alienation, disenchantment, depression. We see a lot of that in our culture. We see a lot of people struggling with alienation, depression, disenchantment, nihilism. And I would say a lot of that is essentially because people don't realize that they've walled themselves off to such an extent. They've essentially boxed themselves in, so they're barely making contact with the now moment. So simple freedom is about opening to the ever-present radiance of now and discovering that there is grace in that radiance. There is a transcendent grace beyond description, a transcendent love beyond description that it is, yeah, I mean, it's indescribable. It provides it provides unbelievable beauty, nourishment, grace, flow, joy, thanksgiving, meaningfulness, purpose. Yeah, I would say it's basically the ultimate fulfillment of human life is to discover what I'm going to attempt to point at. Through this process. And, you could call it now, you could call it God, you could call it grace, divinity, sacredness, the Tao, the way of things, the Great Mother. It goes by many names, and I would say it's also nameless. And yeah, it's amazing and beautiful. So let's dive in a little deeper here. So, yeah, I'm just going to explore some kind of first principles that are really helpful in this exploration of simple freedom, some principles and qualities, I would say, qualities to look for in your direct experience. So that's a big point here is that this whole exploration is not intended to be me just giving you a bunch of beliefs to take on. It's all pointers toward your own direct experience. So everything is intended to be something you can explore for yourself and check out and confirm or verify experientially for yourself. And beliefs aren't really needed in the exploration. Now, it's not to say that belief is never helpful. I generally, you know, I mean, a lot of people have not discovered direct contact with God, and so I would generally encourage those people to believe in God and have faith in God because I feel that that is is still valuable. And even after you've discovered contact with God, it's still valuable to hold faith and belief, I would say, to a great extent. So, anywho, but that's kind of beside the point because the whole point of simple freedom, in a way, or the emphasis here is on what we can discover directly, experientially, beyond belief. So, diving into that, the lead is already the gold. Drop all definitions or clouds to notice the golden sun that is already ever present. Your humdrum life is a continuous, miraculous shining forth of sublime artistry. So this is a great principle to work with because I mean, so much of our culture, so much of self-help, self-improvement, personal development, success ideology. So much of our culture is based on this idea that the gold is somewhere else, that like what you're really looking for is somewhere else. It's not here right now, and you need to go on this big journey to find it. And, you know, even a lot of spiritual teachings take this approach too and say, right now is not what you're looking for. You need to go through this big process of transmuting or alchemizing the lead of your being into the gold. And it's not to say that there's no truth in that. I think that there also, when we get into this realm, there's a lot of paradoxes. So, in one sense, yes, there is a gradual process of the lead being transmuted into gold. At the same time, though, a big part of what that is actually just an increasing noticing that the lead has always been the gold. Your normal humdrum life just as it's always been, has always been a miraculous energy event of inexplicable proportions, and a huge part of noticing that, as it says here, is to, when you feel like it, as you feel inspired to do so, in whatever way you can, find the access points that are workable for you. We all have different kind of personal access points for this, but in whatever way you can, drop all definitions, drop all beliefs, burn it all down, if only for even a few seconds, and just try to come into direct, unmediated contact with your own experience, where you just let everything be a pure mystery. You let everything be like, wow, I'm in this surreal, impressionistic painting. It's like a hyper immersive living painting, and I'm somehow in this. And what is a body? What is a human? What is a world? What is sound? What is color? What is touch? What is texture? It can sound disorienting, and it can be kind of disorienting, but this is one of the most direct pathways to really like just kind of blast through a lot of the calcified layers that kind of keep us in a box, and to just feel the openness that is here, to feel the miracle of anything at all, the fact, the undeniable fact, the one truly undeniable fact is that this is here. This is so, like, we humans endlessly argue and squabble about what's true and yada yada yada, whose beliefs are correct. The one thing that no sane person, or probably insane person, could ever deny is that something is here. This is here. And it turns out that even just staying with that one simple fact, really, really noticing it, really letting yourself notice that there's no such thing as a normal day. There's no such thing as a normal moment, a normal world. It's all an absolutely unbelievable, gargantuan surprise that this is here at all, and that it happens to look like this, and that it looks like anything. I mean, it's just it's unbelievable that this is here. And so when you let yourself contact direct experience in that way, even for a few moments, and you just start to kind of titrate those doses to yourself, you give yourself little doses of unmediated freshness, like unmediated vividness, just basking, bathing in the textural radiance of anything, noticing you've never seen this moment before. The moment is always completely new. The moment never repeats. And when you just titrate those doses to yourself, it accumulates over time into a gradual reorientation toward life, where you start to have this foundational thanksgiving, this foundational gratitude that of what has already been given, and realizing what a gift every moment is, that every moment is a never before seen artwork that you can appreciate. You always have the freedom to appreciate this moment as it is, and to notice the miraculous level of detail and the sublime artistry of every moment. So that is a really key principle in this exploration. Going to another quality to explore here, nowness. So have already touched on this. Nowness, an end in itself, not a means to an end. Life is only now, timeless, open doorway. So yeah, in our culture, the now moment is so often just treated as a means to an end, like a blip on the radar. Like, oh, the now is just a sliver of time, and I'm just rushing right past it because I'm trying to get to the 8,000 things on my to-do list. Simple freedom invites a reorientation, where there's a noticing that one way or another, experientially, the now is all that we ever come in contact with. We do have memories of the past, we have visions of the future, but those are only experienced now. And when that past was experienced, it was only experienced now. And whenever that future will be experienced, it will only be experienced now. So it's in a way, this approach invites this radical empiricism, a radical attitude where you really ask, you know, what is my experience really like? You ask radical questions like, have I ever actually seen the past? Have I ever seen the future? And it starts to feel like, no, I can't find the past or future anywhere other than here now. And so you can just start to feel and experience the now rather than being a sliver and a means to an end. It's like the now opens up and widens. And suddenly the now is not a sliver of a moment in time. The now is an infinite super ocean of eternity that's just always sitting right here. And everything is kind of swimming through that. Everything is fluidly moving around in that. But there is this eternal nowness or this eternal silence, this eternal light that is unchanging, you could say, the light of God, whatever you want to call that inmost grace. This is the type of thing that can be experientially discovered as you go deeper into this. You discover that there's this eternity here, this substratum that is an incredible gift. I mean, it's suffused with love, it's suffused with grace. In my experience, miracle of miracles, it actually holds personal love for each and every one of us. I don't see it as an impersonal void or just like a cosmic force like gravity or something. I experience this ever-present grace holding everything as containing this quality of personal love for each one of us, which is incredibly beautiful to tap into and experience. And I also experience it as a pure mystery. It's like it's an inexhaustible mystery, an inexhaustible revelation. There seems to be no end to which it can reveal further qualities and further gifts and further ways it can seem to be. And so, yeah, a big part of simple freedom is just repeatedly, whenever you think to do so, reorienting toward nowness. Just because we're so habituated to live in time and live in thought that it's just very valuable whenever you can think of it really, if you feel like it. And this can be approached playfully. This whole thing can be approached very playfully, which is another thing I love about this approach. It doesn't have to be a big serious practice, but it's just like anytime you notice it, you just can snap yourself out of the story. You start to get better and better at snapping yourself out of the story of your life and coming into the gift of now as only what's immediately present. You're just like, okay, this is what can I absolutely not deny right now? What is undeniable right now? And it's always this right here. It's the immediate, it's you hugging your child, it's you smelling the flowers, it's the immediate experience. That's what life really consists of. That's where the juice is. That's where all the that's where all the beauty resides. And that's not to demonize the mind or thinking in terms of time or planning for the future. Those things can all have their place, but generally our culture has become super imbalanced toward living life through the mind and through abstraction. That's a big reason why so many people are so anxious and depressed. They just live through the thinking mind. They're not they're not opening to this hyper meaningful light show that is continuously exploding. It's like this is the Big Bang right now, Peter Brown used to say. He'd say, every moment is the Big Bang. Look at this. This is the Big Bang. We're sitting on the top of an exploding volcano in every moment. And this is an ever gurgling geyser of gorgeousness just spewing forth this unbelievable textured radiance, and we're all just acting like it's normal, but it's not normal. It's completely astonishing. It's completely mesmerizing. It's completely unexpected, unforeseen. You can't make sense of it. It's just pure rainbow juice. Yeah, divine creation. Exactly. Exactly, Lindsay. Yeah. Yeah. Divine creation. It's unbelievable. So Yeah. When you open to that and you realize, you are that, you're a part of that, you're immersed in that, your being is not at all separate from that. There's 0 degrees of separation between you and this astonishing, miraculous radiance shining forth in every moment. There can just be this real, like, relaxation that takes place, this real sense of coming home, feeling a sense of wholeness, feeling at home now, um, in this simplicity and this artistry. So now is the open doorway. Yeah, now can feel very timeless when you go into this exploration. It can just feel like opening to a timeless field of eternal artistry, and you don't need to box it into a belief system or say exactly what that is. It's the experiential quality, the direct taste of it is what's most important. Just to really open to it, to let it in, and to let yourself feel this is miraculous existence. This is the one miraculous existence, and I am that. I'm a shining forth of that. And yeah, and and there is one nuance there which, yeah, I wonder if I should touch on it now or not. I mean, one nuance that is has been alive for me in recent times is, um, you know, when I'm saying it's kind of a paradox, and I feel like I don't I don't feel this really needs to be pinned down either way, but some people, take the types of things I'm saying and they take it all the way to you are God. You are God. You are fully God. There's no separate there's no difference between you and God. And I'd say at this point, like I say, I don't feel a need to really pin that down, but I would generally recommend to people, um, to be cautious about fully identifying as God, or kind of just saying I am God, because I think especially for the Western psyche, there can be some dangers there of inflation. I think the Western psyche may benefit from having a sense of a transcendent other, a kind of transcendent friend or eternal parent that is higher than us or above us, that you know, all of our most grandiose energies and power can kind of be given to that, or projected onto that, because otherwise they just kind of get turned back on the ego itself, and then the ego can become fairly grandiose or inflated. At least that was an experience I had. And so for me, at least, it seems to function better to not tell myself that I am God. I would say that I'm not, I would phrase it like I'm not at all apart from God. I feel like God is all pervading. God is right here now. Um, I am a child of God, and God is closer to me than my own breath. Is utterly intimate. And at the same time, God to me seems to be this utterly inexhaustible mystery that is so mind-bogglingly vast. Paradoxically, is completely here now, but also this nowness just seems to have this bottomless depth that goes on forever. And yeah, so for me at least at this point in my process, I that's kind of how I orient. It's like paradoxically there is this non-separation. Like I feel deeply intimate with God, and like I'm not apart from God. And there can be deep experiences of union with God, and yet I don't personally within myself, kind of tell myself that I am God, or collapse all distinction there. I don't collapse all distinction. There's more of there's more of a feeling of God as an eternal father or mother or protector. For me, God in the form of Jesus Christ has been really important in recent years. That's just another mystery of how this nowness can express. I just started connecting a lot to this emanation or presence of Jesus Christ and just wept a lot of tears in the presence of that. And so, um, yeah, so that's another dimension of how I experience this and orient to this. Everybody's got to find their own way, their own flavor, but I figured I would at least make note of that spontaneously here because yeah, for me at least that's become important. Um, yeah. So the next quality to speak about here is this quality of freshness. Now is always new, never before seen. Hyper tapestry. You've never seen the same person twice. So I already mentioned this quality of freshness. I think this is such a potent doorway for me whenever I remember to tune into this because so often in our lives we can get this sense that we're just kind of it's like Groundhog Day. We're moving in the same loops. We're doing the same things again and again. Like I've seen this before. I've done this before. But if I can just remember to snap myself out of that and remember that I've never seen this moment before. I've never experienced this moment before. I've never experienced myself in this way. I've never experienced this person in front of me in this way. There's that old saying, no man steps in the same river twice because it's not the same river and he's not the same man. It's just this noticing that everything is continuously, in every instant, melting into a new iteration of itself. If you notice closely, you notice this that no two instants are alike. Every instant is a completely fresh hyper tapestry of detail. If you look at the granular level of detail, like if you close your eyes, you go into the vibratory field within the body, or you go into the dancing, shimmering light information, light phenomena in the space behind the eyelids, you notice this ever shifting, ever morphing, ever fluid dimension or texture, this play of phenomena. And if you notice it there, you can kind of open up to noticing that everywhere all the time through all the sense fields, there is this kind of vibrating, buzzing quality where everything is continuously, subtly morphing and shifting. And of course, it becomes much more noticeable if you're like moving around or something, if you're walking through a forest or driving in a car, riding on a train, it becomes even more pronounced that everything is continuously morphing, shifting, melting away. And this can be an incredible doorway because I think a lot of people reach this place of feeling like life is boring, feeling like life is devitalized, all the juice has been sucked out of life, there's no aliveness, they just feel like, oh yeah, same boring old life. But it's not. It's never the same. It's never the same boring old life. It's only the mental story, the mental overlay that makes it seem that way. People tell themselves a story that it's just my same old boring life. I've been here before. This is exactly the same as it always is. But it's not. Again, God is in the details, the juice is in the details, the magic is in the details. If you really tune in with the freshness, the bazam, the never before seen shebang, every moment an instantaneous display of abracadabra. You've never seen this before. Voila, magic. It's incredibly juicy. It's re-enchanting. It's revitalizing. It's like life becomes a miraculous adventure, a continuous surprise, again, similar to when we were children. So, yeah, a lot of this exploration is about returning to infant mind, returning to beginner mind, returning to the blank slate, letting it all be new, because it is new. It's not like you're contriving this. You're noticing that you really have never experienced this moment before. It's never been experienced this way before. You've never experienced the person in front of you as that version of themselves before. So that can just really open this different sense of wonder and like and mystery and can reveal creation not as this static thing that's just like a movie set that just oh yeah it just stays the same. No, it's like way trippier and weirder than that. It's like continuously flowing and morphing and fluid. So it's yeah it's astonishing. So I love tuning in with freshness. Another quality is the vividness, which I mentioned at some point too, the continuous HD clarity, the juiciness. This is a full contact sport. It's like hyper immersive. It's always, you don't know what color is, as it says, you don't know what sound is. I mean, it's so immersive. It's so full contact. It's so dripping and juicy and tantrically vitalized that, again, we create these walls because if we fully let it in, we probably wouldn't even be able to function in society. We would all just be like laying down in the daffodils, like, like acting like looking around, completely just overcome by the sheer, oh, I'm like, it's like we're being blasted with a cosmic tractor beam in every moment. This is like quantum, quantum god ejaculation of light just zapping our eyes continuously. It's every moment is like the birth of a trillion suns. We're surrounded by this unimaginable cosmic light show, this supernova of hyper detailed sensory information, all the sense fields so full on, and you're just in it and as it like you there's no way to get out of it in a sense, but the good news is that you don't have to because you can trust it. You're home, you are it. It is this utter immaculate creative loving intelligence that you are, and simple freedom, a big part of it is essentially just learning how to gradually open to that intensity and be with that because as you learn to actually let that in and be with that and appreciate it, life just becomes this more and more vivid, flavorful, alive, juicy affair. And these questions of like, you know, oh, what's the meaning of life or what's the purpose of life? They start to seem like just silly questions in a way. It's like, well, of course, it's just this. Like, what do you what do you need beyond every micrometer of creation just dripping and erupting with juiciness 24/7? What do you need beyond just this continuous shower just being drenched in lusciousness all the time? It's like, I mean, it's just unfathomable and it's also important to note that when I'm saying things like this, part of what I'm doing is I'm trying to open something with this language. I'm not saying that the goal is to necessarily experience it that way 24/7. It's not like you should continuously be in a state of being completely overcome and astonished so that you can barely get anything done because you're just like, oh, like completely regaled. Because part of what's so miraculous about it is that it can look like complete simplicity. It can look like complete ordinariness. It can look like complete simplicity. It can look like you just calmly cooking a meal or driving to work, etc., etc. And it has this capacity to kind of, become more functional like that and let you function in your day-to-day life. But as you develop this capacity to open to the vividness and the astonishment, even like a tiny percent more, even like every like 0.001% that you open to that, it begins to suffuse even the most ordinary acts with this sense of fullness, this sense of juiciness, this sense of artistry, such that the most ordinary acts, such as cooking some potatoes, become just a beautiful poetic moment. And every moment can just be appreciated for what it is. And it's not like you have to turn every moment into a theme park where you're just like bawling your eyes out and screaming your head off and laughing, just explosively at the roller coaster nature of it. You might have moments like that. Those can be beautiful too. It's not about needing every moment to become a peak experience. But when you start to notice just even a little bit and you open the aperture a little bit to the fact that this, in a deep sense, is a continuous peak experience, it is continuous cosmic energy event of galactic magnitude. It is completely unbelievable. You just let that in a little bit more, that can really like just fill and animate your heart and soul, and you just feel more like a kid again. You feel more joy and play, like Jesus said, you must become like little children to enter the kingdom of heaven. I feel like that's what he was pointing at. He's saying the kingdom of heaven is available now. God is, the kingdom of heaven is at hand. God is among you. God is closer than your breath. And essentially becoming like a child again, to notice that, is just opening that sensitivity back up, even a few percentage, even a little bit. You just let more of the light in, and even the most ordinary moments are then transformed. And you feel at home, and you feel this fullness and this freedom in the simplicity of now. So, tuning into the vividness is another a great one. And vividness, it just refers to, yeah, I mean the continuous HD clarity of all the sense fields. It's like just tuning in more deeply than you normally would to the taste of a delicious curry, or the sound of jazz music, or the the way that a leaf floats down from a tree, or the way that a bird flies across the sky, or the the clarity of the color green in the forest. Like you're just essentially opening to the richness of detail all around you, and noticing that that should not be taken for granted. That is astounding. Next here, the fullness, the wholeness. It says the sense fields are overflowing and are one, as mentioned earlier. Nothing is missing, nothing is separate. It's all included. Joan Tollefson has said, there's nothing confusing about the present moment until we begin thinking about it. And Song San, the Zen master, said, make the smallest distinction, and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. Um, yeah, so to kind of unpack a few of those things here, the fullness is like when you just open to this, when you open to the full field of experience. Usually we're taught to not space out and to kind of stay focused on a specific detail within experience, like, oh no, keep your attention on that. But actually it can be almost like spacing out to, but kind of in a more focused way, to, instead of focusing on a specific detail of experience, you open to the full field of experience. You let your attention and your awareness become this kind of infinite super ocean of the full field. And doing that regularly, whenever you feel like it, can be another amazing doorway where suddenly, again, instead of being a tiny sliver in time, the now becomes this infinite immensity, this fullness, this totality that is always here with us, that is always here. And suddenly the now becomes this shimmering jewel of fullness, and a treasure in and of itself. And similarly, the wholeness is a very closely related quality. Um, Not only is it full, but you can feel how it all goes together. You can, especially the more you drop definitions, and drop arbitrary distinctions and divisions, you can feel that, as the Buddhists say, it all codependently arises, it interdependently arises. It all goes together. You can't truly pull anything apart. It's all part of this same light show, this same shining forth this same creation, this same emanation of God, you could say. And yeah, that sense of wholeness is incredibly nourishing. That definitely gives a sense of being home, being where you're meant to be, being non-separate from this. So, and I would say, again, yeah, dropping definitions and just opening to the full field of experience can grant access to those qualities. And yeah, so you can discover this quality that nothing's missing, nothing is separate from this. It's all included. Um, Again, it's all God in a very deep sense, and none of it's separate from God. And at the same time, God is also just forever beyond any experience, any encapsulation. It's like it's all God, and God is forever beyond. And so, yeah, in a deep sense, we are God. We are an emanation of God. We are not apart from God at all, and yet God is just always more, always beyond. Which is a great gift because then there can just be this ever deepening communion, this ever deepening revelation, this endless opening into further in the inexhaustibility of this wellspring of God's nature. Um, yeah, Lindsay said, thinking of your rap part, God is now, G. Yeah, beautiful. God is now. Yeah, that's a great one. And yeah, I love Joan's quote here, nothing confusing about the present moment until we begin thinking about it. That's something else you can play with and notice. If you're just able to stop thinking for even a few seconds, you can just notice, huh, when I'm not thinking, there's no confusion, there's no problem. This is just here. Things are as they are. It's like that other Zen proverb. If you understand, things are as they are. If you don't understand, things are as they are. So it's just things always simply are as they are. And it's funny, it's like an old cliche. It is what it is. And tons of people say that. It's like said all around, America at least, as far as I know, I grew up and my mom would say that, relatives would say that. And I think a lot of people may not realize, or maybe they do realize on some level, but yeah, maybe some haven't fully realized just how profound that statement really is. I mean, the essence of simple freedom is kind of contained in those, what, 5 words? It is what it is. Those 5 words, it is what it is. That right there is eons of wisdom. I mean, if you can just deeply internalize, it is what it is, then you're freer than than 99.9% of people. I mean, what a great liberation. Yeah, it is what it is. Why would I go to war with the now moment when it already just is what it is? What could be more insane than trying to fight the now moment, as it is what it is? And that includes any resistance that's showing up. It is natural for there to be tension in life or resistance at times in life, but you can include that in this more profound acceptance of it is what it is. Oh, there's resistance showing up. It is what it is. Oh, there's pain showing up. It is what it is. And as soon as you accept even the resistance and you welcome everything, that allows everything to release and for the knots to untie themselves and for everything to transform much faster. Like you tend to notice that difficult emotions and pains, they don't stick around nearly as long if you're able to hold them in this field of isness. It's just, it is what it isness. And as the Zen master said here, make the smallest distinction and heaven and earth are set infinitely apart. I mean, that's quite a profound statement. Again, it points to what thought does. As soon as you think any thought, you create a distinction. Because if as soon as you name dog, you create what is not dog, because dog only makes sense in relation to what is not dog, and Jordan only makes sense in relation to what is not Jordan. So as soon as thought comes into play, you have created an apparent separation. You've divided the world up into separate objects, and that has a function to it. It's a useful tool, but he says it in kind of a dramatic way here by saying heaven and earth are then set infinitely apart. But there is a profundity in that statement because the more that we've lost ourselves in thought, the more that we then are no longer able to access that pure child mind where heaven resides, where everything is just the undivided garden right now. And in that space of the undivided garden, again, it just feels like fullness, it feels like wholeness, it feels like everything is God. This is God right now. There's no division between me and God. There's no division between me and heaven. There's no division between me and divinity. And yeah, I recommend relaxing there. I recommend hanging out there. And yeah, at the same time, in terms of, at a certain point, you do kind of uh, snap out of that most likely, and you start to tell stories about what that was and what happened. And again, for myself at least, it's been important to bow down. For me, it's important to bow down before God, to take this kind of not to make myself subservient to or to kind of make myself less than per se, but just in to take a devotional stance, to at the same time honor this non-separation, but also honor that the person of Jordan Bates that I am is is a child of God, is in a sense is not the fully realized, inexhaustible totality of God. Kind of taking that devotional stance is important in my process too. So these are both things you can play around with. You can play around with making no distinction and letting just melting into that, which goes completely beyond words and all these metaphysical issues of what is God and what is not God. They just fall away, and there's just this sense of union. Um, and you can also play around with a more devotional stance if that resonates with you. I mean, I will say that various sages from different traditions, Ramana Maharshi and others, have spoken about devotion being a really powerful engine on the path. Like, and Jesus said, love God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, with all your being. There's something about taking that stance of, and it can't really be contrived. It has to kind of arise naturally in your heart. But if that starts to arise, I nurture that flame, I would say, of love for this, because the more love that you have for life, for the creator, for this grand mystery, the more your heart ignites on fire for that, that fire becomes an engine on the path. It kind of ignites this deeper bonfire of love within you that begins to dissolve what is less true, dissolve layers of snakeskins that have served their purpose and that are ready to fall away, and just ignites your heart with genuine love for life and for all beings and everyone around you. So yeah, those are different things that can be played with and explored. And another quality here, and I'll try to wrap up these last couple slides so that there can be some space for dialogue and sharing. I'll definitely make more space for that in the following sessions, but just laying some foundational ground here. So these qualities of what is non-owned, what is unpriceable, no one truly owns anything. It's all the pearl beyond price. As Song San said, do not seek truth, only cease to cherish opinions. Yeah, I find this quality to be really beautiful to tune into also. because money is such a big factor for so many of us in the practical human world at this stage of history. But if you zoom out and you realize, like, no one, no one owns the sky, no one owns the oceans, no one truly owns the galaxy, no one owns the earth, no one owns the forest. It's basically just we've created these human agreements that say that someone owns these things. But on a deeper level, it's all borrowed from the great mystery. It's all borrowed from God. It's all, you can't take any of it with you. We are, we've been entrusted to steward these things, but on a deeper level, ownership is a fiction. And I think the Buddha said nothing whatsoever is to be related to as me or mine. Um, and yeah, I mean, maybe it gets, I don't necessarily fully agree with erasing any sense of me. I think you can have a sense of being a person. This is where some wisdom traditions do diverge around that. Some of them seem to kind of want to go in the direction of completely erasing a sense of an individual self or person or me. Um, I would say that that might happen for periods of time. I've had periods of deep kind of no self immersion where I felt like I was barely there, was not there. And that can be really beautiful. It can just feel like you just feel like you become completely transparent to divinity. Although for me, it feels like it's fluid. I feel like it can be um, a trap to feel like it has to be one particular way. Like, oh, my sense of self needs to fall away so I can be fully enlightened. I think that's a trap to think that way. In most cases. So, but anywho, the main point of that was just to say that the Buddha also pointed to this. Seems like he was a pretty wise guy, saying, not- "Don't relate to anything as being yours." I mean, I think this is really powerful to just contemplate that on a deep, deep level, the money in the bank account is not yours. Your house is not yours. Your children are not yours. Like you don't own them. You don't possess them. Yes, you've been entrusted to, I absolutely love my daughter. I've been entrusted to be her father and to be a caretaker, a provider, a protector for her. But I don't own her. I don't possess her. I don't have dominion over her. She is of life like everything else, and it's all it's all free in a deep sense. It's not ownable. We can pretend that we own it all we like, but again, it's all going to slip through our fingers at a certain point. It's all going to be taken away in one sense. In another sense, this gets into questions of what happens after death, and uh, I don't know the answer to that. I will say that I've had many experiences that do suggest that there are further adventures after this life, and that in a deep sense, nothing real is truly lost, and everything that is is true and is love and is real is stored forever in the heart of hearts. And yeah, so in another sense, what is real and the real love we experience in this life is not is not lost, I would say, is my deep intuition. And at the same time, still, I would still say it's the case that no one really owns anything. It's all borrowed from God, and you can't put a price on anything, too. This can really reveal. I sometimes say that we're sitting on infinity dollars. If we could just notice it, we're sitting on infinity Bitcoin. Like the true worth of every nanosecond of our life is infinite worthiness, because you can't put a price on a single bite of a burrito or seeing a squirrel scampering playfully across a twig or jumping onto a tree. Our society kind of hoodwinks us into thinking that you can put a price on these things. But as soon as you see that you can't really put a price on anything, and the most precious experiences in life are way beyond what you would ever sell for any amount of money. what would you sell the light in your child's eyes for? You know, the feeling of love in your heart connecting with your child or your loved one, the feeling of, giving your mom a hug or walking through the forest. Like these experiences are completely beyond any amount of money. So when you realize that, you realize you're the richest person in the world right now. As soon as you realize you're surrounded by unpriceable blessings, you realize that we all won the life lottery and we're all we're all super abundantly rich out here. So that can be another really powerful access point. I really like that one. Let's see which slides we have left here. So we have unresolvability, simplicity. The lead is already the gold. Okay, I'll try to dance through these relatively quickly here. So unresolvability. Life cannot be pinned down. When you drop all pinning down, life opens up. So we've touched on this quite a bit already. So as this diagram shows, the default cultural tendency is this progressive narrowing. Our culture has this kind of addiction to pinning things down via thought, an addiction to a narrowly defined reality tunnel of fixed, predictable entities. So there's this narrowing process, which leads to feeling like you know what everything is and you have a handle on things, yet it tends to produce a sense of dullness, humdrum, boringness, disenchantment, or depression. So when everything seems totally mundane and totally fixed and like, yeah, I know what this is, just my life, yada, 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 this sucks, where's the whiskey? Um, and, I like a little whiskey at times myself, so no hate there, but when everything's boxed in, you know, that's the cultural tendency, and a lot of people are feeling a deep sense of depression, and I don't think that's a coincidence, and disenchantment. Liberation tends to go in the other direction, in my experience, toward a progressive opening and blossoming. So this begins with noticing that thought cannot actually pin things down in the way one had supposed, noticing that all definitions are partial, beginner's mind, infant mind, freshness, encountering everything anew. So it leads to no final knowledge of what anything is and not having a handle on things, yet experiencing flow, trust, wholeness, sky-like freedom, and ever-expanding intimacy with limitless experiential richness, and what is old becomes new. So, yeah, this quality of unresolvability, Peter Brown would repeatedly point to this in many ways. It was really a linchpin of his entire teaching. And other words for unresolvability would be indefinability or unspeakability. So even just asking yourself, why is everything so unsayable? Why can I not really say what even something like this pen is or this water bottle? We use the term water bottle, but does that really say what this is? Does that really pin down what this morphing strange phenomenon is? Because you can also notice that you can't have this water bottle without planet Earth, and you can't have planet Earth without the solar system. You can't have the solar system without the galaxy. You can't have the galaxy without the cosmos. You can't have the cosmos without whatever this mysterious great mystery is that gave rise to the cosmos that is here now. So suddenly, in order to say what anything is, you'd have to actually say what everything is. It's like the scientist Carl Sagan once said, in order to bake an apple pie from scratch, you must first invent the universe. So it's like noticing that the totality is a necessary precursor for anything and everything. So to really say what anything is, you would have to say what the totality is, and no one can do that. And so the more deeply you can notice that, and part of that too is because is noticing again the freshness, the ever changingness. When you notice that even something like this water bottle, in a deep sense, it's not a static object. The experience of it, at least, is like an ever morphing phenomenon. Like I can feel a kind of a sense of touch, of coldness, of this cold plastic, and I'm seeing phenomenon of this swirling kind of blob of textural sensation here, in a deep sense, I don't know what that is. I can't separate that out from the full field of experience. And the longer that you just stare at anything, if you stare at anything for even a few minutes, anything starts to become weird and surreal, and you're like, wait, I thought I knew what this was, but now that curtain is actually just kind of looking like a like a the the coattails of a robe or dress of some intergalactic wise woman. Everything can just take on this poetic quality, this suchness, and you can just start to notice that our definitions can't contain whatever this strangeness is. And so when you start to stay with it as an unresolvable, unspeakable, indefinable mystery, once again, that can really open something. That can be like a flashbang grenade goes off and can, temporarily detonate the mind and silence the mind, and you can just realize you're standing in the presence of a continuous um, divine mystery, divine openness, divine creation. So unresolvability is another profound doorway. Simplicity, once again, simple freedom. Now is all you ever deal with, and now does itself. It's already done. Stop thinking and end your problems, as Lao Tzu said. So, um, yeah, the simplicity is another great doorway. I mean, life in the modern world can seem so complex at times. So, if we can just get a taste of this simplicity, it can be such a relief to just realize, oh, I thought my life was this big, complicated thing, but actually, it's not. Now is all I ever have to deal with, and the now is already done, you know. Can you feel that? Can you notice that right now? Like before you can even think about it, now is done. And you never find yourself anywhere other than now. So it's just like, oh, I'm already home. This is already done. It is what it is. Voila, hello, done deal in a sense. In a certain sense, this is always the finish line. This is always simple clarity, simple purity, simple freedom, because it's just, again, it just simply is as it is. And as Lao Tzu said, stop thinking and end your problems. It's really only once we start thinking about it that it seems like this bramble of complications. But prior to that, it's just this pure, naked simplicity. And so that's not to say to stop thinking forever. Again, thought can be a useful tool. I would say the thinking mind is a beautiful servant and a terrible master. So you want the thinking mind to be a beautiful servant, not a master. And for many people, it's become this terrible master, and they can only see life through the thinking mind. Um, whereas, yeah, I would say the thinking mind is its rightful place is as a beautiful servant, a tool, and it is a servant of this deeper intelligence, this deeper knowing that I would say is centered in the heart most notably, but is really just this holistic wisdom, this sensing, this knowing, this beingness of directly feeling from God, from the source of your existence, letting that breathe through you, being led by that grace that flows from and through the center of the heart, that feels like unconditional love and clarity and being at home and spontaneously knowing who you are and what you're meant to do. That is what I love to be led by. I love to let that lead me, and it can't really be contrived, but these doorways, these practices, these portals, engaging this playfully can lead to the ever deepening discovery of that grace and then learning to be led by that through the heart. And so once more, remember the lead is already the gold. Playfully, curiously explore the qualities of your own immediate direct experience. Feel how now is all you ever experience. Feel now as wholeness. Drink in its luscious textures. Drop what you think it is and let it freshly show you what it is. This noticing of now is cumulative over time and shifts your foundational orientation toward life in an immensely liberating way. So, yeah, that kind of sums it up. Once again, the lead is already the gold. This is it now. Now is a gift. And the whole essence of simple freedom is to let it be what it is, total acceptance of what is, and playfully, curiously exploring and opening to nowness, immediate experience as a mystery, as unknown artistry, and really letting yourself feel that, feeling the now as pure sensation is another big part of this. Dropping the mind and just feeling the textural radiance of the sense fields, just bubbling and percolating and continuously dynamically morphing and shifting. Letting everything kind of offering everything to that bonfire of radiance, of presence, and just letting it all go in a sense, letting go into that and feeling your wholeness with that, feeling the fullness of that, feeling the juiciness of that, and just letting that be an end in itself. Just realizing life is enough right now. Life is full right now. Life is exploding with luscious artistry and texture right now. And so, yeah, you can just drop what you think it is, let it freshly show you what it is, and those noticings are cumulative over time and just lead to this ever deepening appreciation for life, this ever deepening communion with life. This noticing can penetrate the heart, can lead to such explosions of love. I mean, it can just lead to all of these kinds of graces and benedictions. And it all begins with just simple noticing, just returning to nowness and just looking at it freshly and staying curious like a child, staying open to it. Um, so that is the basis of simple freedom. And I think there I will stop the recording. Thanks to anybody who's watching this in the future. Peace and love to you.